Welcome to Going Forward, where inspiring conversations with leaders and entrepreneurs shape tomorrow. Dive into the depths of their journeys, the hurdles they've overcome, and the insights they bring to the future. Let's get moving right here, right now on Going Forward.
This episode of Going Forward is brought to you by Optimizer, the award-winning PPC management tool trusted by advertisers worldwide. Need to save time and supercharge your ad performance? Optimizer makes managing PPC campaigns on Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft easier than ever. With automation, smart insights, and powerful optimizations, you'll work smarter, not harder. Try it free for 14 days at optimizer.com/go/VIP and take your ads to the next level.
What's going on, Going Forward Nation? This is Elliott. I am your host of Going Forward, and I got someone on the line, Mr. Michael Scarpati. Michael and I, it's been a tough time for us connecting, but boy, we made it work, Michael. We made
it happen. Man. We made it work.
We should title this episode, Money Talk and You Know What Walks, right? We should title this episode that. Man, Michael, I'm excited to have you on the line today. We're going to talk about your company, RetireUS, and we're going to also talk about what brought you into this space, your why, what moves you, what motivates you. And I want to talk about all the things that people they just have in the back of their minds. They don't say, they talk about, they would rather keep their money under the mattress. So you might have a certain demo that feels they're young and invincible and they don't want to think about retirement. I want to talk about, your tools, your technology, and how you actually help people. Is that fair, man?
I love that. And I must say that intro promo video talking about displaying the skills of the agency. I think got me hyped up.
That's right. I want to pump you up, man.
Right.
Michael, man, there's going to be some folks who actually don't know who you are, man. But let's introduce those people to who you are and what you do, buddy.
Sure. So, well, first of all, thank you, Eric, for having me on. I'm excited to get into all the details financial. My name is Michael Scarpati. I'm the founder and CEO of RetireUS. So we are a fintech platform that is really about empowering users to create financial freedom in their lives. And our objective is to really connect you with the highest level of financial professional that's out there, that's independent, that's fiduciary, that has to work in the best interest for you, which, believe it or not, is not the norm at all in the financial service industry. We can definitely get into that a little bit, but it's, I'm here, I'm an entrepreneur. I have been in the financial services industry for over 15 years at this stage. And, now this chapter is all about creating accessibility for the masses. We're tired of high quality financial guidance and resources only being reserved for the 1% to 2% of wealth earners. We want to support the 98% and give everybody the ability to create a clear path to financial freedom with a trusted expert. That's what we're about.
Well, man, dude, you kind of saying who you are and what you do, you hit on a lot of different points there, man. I mean, when you start beginning to tell people about the company or when your company does it, I mean, what is the first thought that people have? For the young folks, are they thinking I don't want to talk about retirement? It's almost like people, when they talk about insurance, they don't want to talk about what insurance is. They want to talk about what it does,
Yep. Yeah. I think you answered the question in the question. People don't want to deal with this stuff, right? They don't, it's easier to ignore it. And there's a lot of self-talk. There is a reason for that, right? People don't want to deal with it for a number of reasons. We did a ton of market research to understand what they were. The first one is they don't know who to trust. They don't feel like they can trust anybody, right? And they're right. They're absolutely right. Intuitively, they feel that way, that they don't want to go in and feel like they're being sold by somebody who doesn't necessarily have their best interest at heart. The reality is that is an accurate assessment. 85% of licensed financial professionals have no fiduciary duty over the investment or financial planning recommendations they're giving, meaning they are not legally obligated to give you advice that's in your best interest in the eyes of the law. 85% of the licensed.
That's a big number, man.
It's a big number.
Big number.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you said 85% of doctors didn't have to give you medical advice that's in your best interest. How many people would actually trust the guidance or feel comfortable going to the doctor, right? Like that's the environment that we're in, and it's an environment that we're here to ultimately change.
So now hearing that, and you say that 85% and all the non-traditional people, they're not usually licensed to be able to give you the financial advice. Like, what about the traditional companies? We don't need to call the names, but the Schwabs of the world, but the traditional companies that are out there, that are that people they trust just those names, but and people just don't know what to do, Michael. They don't know what to do with their
Eric,
future, man.
a lot of those big name institutions are what we're actually talking about. Actually,
Wow.
it's not 85% of licensed financial professionals. It means these are not non-licensed people. These are the financial advisors, right? The investment manager, the investment advisor, the broker. They are licensed professionals. It's just the industry is structured in a way that doesn't make any sense. The industry is structured
Wow.
in a way where there is no fiduciary duty across the board. And it's because it's impossible. Most of the financial professionals do not work for you. They work for the institution, right? So who are they truly there to serve? They're truly
Hmm.
there to serve the institution in which they represent, not the client in which they're giving the advice. So there's this inversion of high quality advice that exists because of the way that the money flows in the industry. And the reality is most people are not aware of it. So most people are trusting brand name when the reality is
Wow.
it's the inverted, it's the inversion of where you should go, because you really want to find the independent fiduciary financial planner, the independent who has an open architecture, because they're not tied to any institution. They can vet the entire marketplace. They actually contract directly with you, right? You
Hmm.
sign an agreement with them which says, hey, I'm working for you now, and I'm legally obligated to make sure this investment advice is in your best interest, or you can take me to court and come after me if you feel like that's not the case. So it's the big secret that we're here to ultimately expose is you gotta really do some due diligence, and you kind of got to take a step back when you're looking for the professionals to guide you, because the vast majority don't have to work in your best interest, and that's the hard truth.
Yeah, but Michael, how did they get through that? Because you can watch an NFL game and they're beating Charles Schwab in your head, or they're beating some other money manager in your head. And like I believe what you're saying, like you have to kind of uncover the truth, but a lot of people don't know how to ask the questions. So how do you tell someone, Michael, like this is how you ask the questions to really look into these people that
Yeah.
are the big names?
Yeah, that's the battle that we're up against, right? Is that
Wow.
there's so much money, and the voice that dominates, the loudest voice in the room
Hmm.
is the ones that don't necessarily have to put the client first. And so the first thing is doing a little bit of an assessment. One, if you're already getting, so let me take an even wider step back. We're already starting the process, which is first, people are unconsciously incompetent about this fact, right? They don't
That's
know what they
true.
don't know. They just don't even know this is a thing. So the first step is now we're aware that, okay, all financial professionals don't necessarily need to work in my best interest and don't
Hmm.
necessarily work for me. The
Hmm.
second thing is understanding that there's three really major types of financial professionals. There's the benefits professional. This is the one through the workplace. There's the
Okay.
product professional. This is the one that you tend to think about when you think financial advisor, investments, money manager. And then there's the planning professional. These are the ones that
Mm.
are actually building out the comprehensive frameworks and giving you more of process to make decisions, and it's more about behavioral management. So there's three different kind of modalities, if you will. And so taking a first step back and seeing, if I'm working with somebody right now, right? Most people have an advisor or a professional through their workplace. A lot of
Right.
times they talk to, every couple of years or once a year, whatever it is. That person is never going to be a fiduciary, essentially, right? They don't work for you. They actually don't even work for your employer. Your employer has contracted somebody else that
Yeah.
is supporting that, and it's meant to support solely those benefits. The product professional, this is where most people unfortunately end up with the big institutions, right?
Mhm.
Big money managers. You can list them off, but it's the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the Fidelities, the State Streets, the Edward Joneses, all these big names that you see, the advertisements that are out there, right? Most of these institutions have their own funds, have their own proprietary fund set, or have their own ecosystem in which any advice is going to operate around, right? So if you're working with a professional that works for an institution, right, that's kind of already like the red flag. The flag should go up that, well, how can they actually be a fiduciary? Fiduciary is the buzzword. That's the word
Wow.
I'm going to ask. Are you an independent fiduciary? Right? The answer to that needs to be an emphatic yes. Right? What we'll probably get is a lot of skirting around the question, right?
Mhm.
It's an emphatic yes. Yes, I'm independent fiduciary. That means I work for you.
Got
I
it.
am an open architecture. I'm not tied to any institutions. I can help manage your money through any type of institution that's out there. I could do it through Schwab. I could do it through Fidelity. I could do it through, name your institution, because I'm independent. I'm not tied to them, but I can use them, right? I can take advantage of them. All these institutions have things that they're great at and things that they're not so great at. When you work with the independent fiduciary, you can build the all-star team, right? You can put together, at some point you need products, right?
Yes.
One company doesn't have all the best products. Like we know that. That's just basic logic. So having the independent fiduciary with open architecture allows you to build the all-star team of products. But to the final point, it should revolve around a plan first, right? People have an investment portfolio, people have investments or portfolios, and they think that they have a plan, right? But investments are actually the result of a plan, not vice versa. Right? Investments and products are the result of a plan. So a plan comes first. The plan gives us purpose, and then we fill that plan with the right investments, with the right products. And so most people are working with investment advisors, not financial planners. And that's the other key thing to start discerning around, right? It's all about discernment right now. It's awareness and discernment. RetireUS, the platform that we built, is all about streamlining this and making it easy, right? Our objective is to connect you with independent fiduciaries on the product side, on the planning side, so that you don't need to spend a ton of time doing due diligence and spend thousands and thousands of dollars in fees in order to work
Wow.
with professionals, right? That's what the platform's all about. Let's connect you with the best. Let's make it easy so you know that you can trust these individuals and you have high quality guidance at a rate that's actually affordable through a simple subscription model.
What's interesting is some of those big names, like I've noticed, they've started using these words, no commissions. Have you noticed that? They
Mhm.
start saying those words. And then you talked about like, kind of it's the education part's kind of an uphill battle, right? And for those youngsters, let's just say the 30 years or the 30 somethings who are getting into the workforce, they're into their careers, they have like the 401k through their job. And earlier you started naming the Black Rocks, the Vanguards, all these of other folks, or the T Rowe Prices of the world. Like they are thinking that, and even me, until I started reading up on you, like we're thinking that these guys are making the best decisions for me.
Sure.
Right? So, like, how do you simplify that, or even put that in layman's terms for that young professional who has the 401k, or who thinks, hey, I'm with Fidelity, I'm good to go. How do you begin to educate those people so they can understand, like, hey, you need to pay attention to this?
It's such, it's such a hard question to give a proper answer for, because at the end of the day,
Mhm.
brand equity is the biggest thing people care about right now when it
Wow.
comes to financial services. So we've, as a company that's looking to disrupt things and break down some barriers, this is part of our research process, was understanding like what do consumers actually care about. And the biggest thing they care about is brand equity, brand
Mm,
notoriety. So
right.
it's going to be a big unlearning process for a lot of people, right? We as the consumer have fallen into this trap, if you will, that
Yeah.
associates everything with big brand equals they are doing the best. They are the best. They're doing the best. That doesn't mean that they're doing it in your best interest, right? What I think we need to start kind of incorporating into our thinking with that brand association is
Yeah.
that the reason it's a giant brand is generally because it's a very, very profitable company. And the way that you
Wow.
are able to become and maintain being a very, very profitable company is you're making sure that the business's interests are being served at all times. So if there's direct alignment with a business that is in the business of making sure that you're working with fiduciaries, right? You can do both of those things. But is that their core business? If the answer is no, right, this is where we should start to just question, right? Question things around the brand
Wow.
itself is not the end all be all. The brand itself, what does it really represent and what are they really in the business of, right? The brand of Fidelity is a great company, right? It's a major company. It's not just limited to, you can be an independent fiduciary and channel and leverage Fidelity as a custodian, as a place
Got it.
to help manage your assets, right? And Fidelity also has employees that are financial advisors that are in the business of managing money through Fidelity's mutual funds, right? Which is a totally different thing. So there's all this different nuance that comes into it that we just need to be aware of. The big thing in the financial planning space that I've found after 15 years in this industry is that you're going to actually get the highest quality of service in the independent channel. The independent
Wow.
professional, the independent channel is going to give you the highest quality of service and the highest likelihood of the guidance being absolutely in your best interest.
Do you think like the old model of like the financial advice is really like disempowered people and like how can fintech kind of help them kind of scale and give them guidance along the way?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, that's probably where we are, I would imagine, is that the old model, it's an old paradigm, right? It's an old
Yeah.
paradigm that's shifting. It's definitely shifting because of fintech, right? Fintech is opening up a lot of doors for people. The financial services industry was 1,000% molded around the 1 to 2% of wealth earners, right? And
Hmm.
what fintech's doing is it's opening up accessibility to the 98%. So you saw this. Robinhood is a really good example
Yeah.
of this,
Yeah.
right? You could not trade options or pick your own stocks a while back without going through a broker, right? And
That's
you
true.
TD,
Yeah.
Ameritrade, those things were there too, and kind of set the stage for the Robinhoods to come in. But Robinhood really made it easy, frictionless, accessible to anybody, right? You could go on, you could start on that Robinhood account and put on $5 if you wanted to. And Robinhood also has opened up probably some can of worms that we should
That's
close,
true.
because like anybody can trade options on Robinhood.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
you've seen the stories of people getting into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for trading options on credit, margin. And like, maybe it's that you could probably make the argument that it could go a little too far. As well.
Especially around the GameStop time. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah.
GameStop pandemic times were a little dangerous when it came to options trading and fintech and personal finance.
Mhm.
So there's the tech though opens up accessibility. That's actually really, I think, that the core here. To circle back to your question, kind of the younger population is more comfortable with the tech. So I think the younger
Yeah.
population really is going to have a lot more opportunities if you're not in the 1 to 2%. The 98% of the people out there that are in that younger late 20s, 30s, and really starting to prioritize personal finance. I
Mhm.
think what's going to happen is those who actively take action and really make this something that that is a priority for them. Really, just prioritizing action in the space, not just education, like taking some sort of action and making meaningful change will be more and more abundant for that generation, because the tech's going to just make it easier. It's going to open up lanes of access that just otherwise weren't there.
Which generation do you feel it's harder to educate? Because the younger folks, like you said, they're okay with tech. They grew up with it. And then you have the older generation, like we talked about, they want to go to the mattresses, you know what I mean? Or they want to stick to the traditional way of doing things. You know what I mean? Which one, in your opinion, seems to be the more difficult to educate or bring awareness to?
I think it is the older generation, truly, when it comes to bringing awareness. It's the old, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or you can, but it's just like, it's a lot harder. Right? You can definitely do it, but it's going to require a lot more effort. I think that's kind of where we are with like the boomer generation, which you're seeing now transition to retirement, is they still consume a lot of information through main, like, old school media channels. And those old school media channels, again, the conversation is more dominated by traditional approaches. So they're really still not super aware. And they fall into that, like, brand is everything, right? If it's a big brand, I can trust it. It's like, it's kind of those old belief systems are really deeply ingrained in that generation. And there's not a ton of media that they consume that challenges that, right? That challenges that perspective. So it's just, I think that it's starting to open up. There's more and more usage of alternative media platforms like, YouTube's and social media and podcasts and things of that nature that are starting to kind of allow this to raise into the awareness. But it's definitely, it's kind of like an information war, if you will. It's really an information war.
Well, that generation's holding on to what they're used to. You know what I mean?
Comfortable.
And they're comfortable with that, and not letting go. And so they begin to trust that information, while, the younger folks, like you said, like, think they have adopted the tech more.
That generation, the major thing that is painful to see, because of that truth that you just articulated really well, like them holding on to this old way of doing things. That generation is actually the one that can be impacted the most. They can actually value the most from understanding new methods, because they have the most to lose, right? Most of that generation has savings, right? They're already close to retirement, or they're in retirement. And they're using old models. They're using old, antiquated approaches in terms of growing and protecting, more importantly, protecting their wealth from unnecessary market volatility, or things like major inflation risk, which we saw over the past couple of years, like really hitting that older population. And it's because they are still holding on to like these old approaches, and they're just not getting served information that helps them understand that there's so much more out there that they can do right now that's equally as safe, equally as established, but just not in their awareness, because it's not a big part of the media or the general zeitgeist that they experience on a regular basis.
Hold tight, listeners. We're taking a brief pause. Going forward, we'll be back shortly with more insightful conversations.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hov, H to the O-V. I used to move snowflakes by the OZ. I guess even back then you can call me CEO of the ROC. Ho, fresh out the frying pan into the fire. that's right.
If your company feels like chaos and finding anything is like solving a mystery, get Trainual, the app that turns all your scattered company knowledge into an organized playbook, where every employee question has an answer, just a simple search away. Where all of your processes and policies are documented, roles and responsibilities are defined, and delegating anything is as easy as drag and drop. Trainual, it's how you get your operations under control and how you deliver the ultimate onboarding and training experience.
Welcome back to Going Forward. We hope you're recharged because we've got an exciting second half waiting for you. Get ready to dive deeper and be inspired. Let's keep the momentum going.
I can't remember where I read it, and I was saving this one for you, and they were talking about like how, financial wellness is like a form of mental health.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? Let's dive into that a little bit too, because I think as you talk about like just this generational shift, and then there's some in the middle, and like how this is a form of, I mean, like I feel like there's kind of like an emotional toll and financial stress that's happening with like with individuals and families, and I want to talk about how I want your thoughts on that, and then I want to talk about like how your system, like how RetireUS really helps people with this, because
Sure.
this is going to be big, man.
Yeah. Thank you. The thing is that if you feel financially stressed, something's wrong.
Hmm.
If you feel financially insecure, something's wrong, right? It's intuitively, we as human beings, we're very intuitive. We're very intuitive. Like at the end of the day, we know we don't need to logically know the answer why to know
Yeah.
that something's wrong. And so if you feel overwhelmed, if thinking about money makes you feel stressed or gives you tension or gives you that like that dropping feeling in your gut, something is wrong that doesn't need to be, right? So
Yeah.
there's something there that you are either avoiding or you don't know, like you are financially unwell. And the problem is we've gotten so accustomed to being okay with that. And we need to change that thinking, right? Our financial health dictates a lot of our mental health, right? Which dictates
Damn.
a lot of our physical health, right? Which
Damn.
dictates a lot of the health that we have with our relationships and the community that we build and the life that we live. And so the root of a lot of it is financial dis-ease, right? Financial disease, financial dis-ease. Like
Wow.
that's a problem, right? But people, we have gotten so apathetic to our own financial disease, and that is something that needs to change, right? And it's like us making a decision as humanity and as Americans, right? I think it's a big American thing going, I'm not standing for this anymore. I'm tired of feeling like crap when I think about finances or feeling worried. Like if you feel worried, it's because you're not addressing something. And the interesting thing is just seeing it, like, and I think people don't know how to address it, right? And so that's where we come in. That's where the platform comes in, right? The platform is all about connecting you with independent fiduciaries to make this simple and easy, right? To make it very, like, it's a lot of times people don't know where to start and they feel like it's going to be overwhelming. They feel like they're not going to understand it. All of that is self-talk. All of that is just you getting in your own way. When you talk with a financial professional, people sometimes associate, I think many times, associate a financial advisor, financial planner with that they themselves, the user, need to be very articulate and savvy with money in order to understand what's going on in these conversations, because it's going to be very technical, right? It's going to be very technical. There's going to be jargon that you're not going to understand. And it's actually, that in itself is misinformation. The superpower of the financial advisor, financial planner, is that they are very good at articulating things that are very complicated and making them easy to digest and understand for the layman. That's a big part of their job, right? Is taking these major complex things and making it into really easy, digestible steps that you can take to help you understand it, to make you feel more empowered, and to give you guidance and process so that you can make decisions with intent, right? That's really what they do. Like, obviously they're helping the architecture of your finances as well, but like truly in the relationship process, they're the translator, right? They're translating for you this information. And so,
Well, I mean, Oh, go ahead. Go finish your point.
I
You
was
got
just gonna
you're on
say,
to
so
something, man.
that's the point of the platform. The RetireUS platform is meant to, one, make it really easy to connect with these professionals that you know you can trust because they're fiduciary.
Mhm.
But two, make it easy and seamless and frictionless to get them the information that they need so that you can have meaningful interactions that are impactful and still feel are human, right? This isn't a robo. You're working with people. You're
Yeah.
working with human beings that are here to meet you where you are, right? Not try to pull you to this other area of complexity. Is meeting you where you are and helping you understand the decisions and actions that you can take and need to make to feel comfortable, feel confident in your finances.
You started using like the word community, and immediately what came into my mind is like on almost every corner, there are banks and financial institutions, some community banks, and like like a lot of these banks now, they are selling product,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
or they're selling product, and and I think, and I love what you said about like bringing awareness to it. And so this is like where they keep their checking in their savings account. And then when the bank starts offering product, and the bank's kind of part of the community, do you feel like, um, let's just not say not just the bank, but the community as a whole has a responsibility to truly educate people on their finances?
I do. Yeah, I mean, I really do. The community bank feel is also it's less and less of a reality as these major banks have just been
Wow.
absorbing them, right? The major banks have been absorbing the middle market and the small banks at pretty incredible rates. So that community bank feel, believe it or not, I can actually resonate with this a lot. My grandfather was the chairman of a community bank in a very small area called Albion, PA, in the Erie, Pennsylvania area.
Wow.
True rags to riches story. It was incredible, like grit, resilience. Started out as the janitor of this bank, and over time worked his way up, and it ultimately became the chairman, the CEO of the bank,
Wow.
expanded it. But it was community. It was literally called Community National Bank. That was the name of it, right? And it was all this. It was this big community type of a resource. But there's a couple of pitfalls that also come with that. One is
Mhm.
banking is its own industry, right? It sits in a different industry than securities, than insurances. Financial planning should really be navigating all three of those industries simultaneously,
Mhm.
right? So when you go to just keeping that in mind, right? Like when you go to the institution generally sits in one industry, and you're going to get the perspective of one industry. Whereas a financial
Wow.
planner operates simultaneously in multiple industries and is giving a holistic view, kind of top down, and then seeing which products within those industries are going to actually make sense for your personal situation to make sure that everything's like fully in alignment. So, regardless, even if the community bank is there, for the most part, they're going to be very limited in actually what they
Limited.
can offer, yet because of the industry that they're operating in.
Well, what are some shifts that you see happening, around money, careers, and lifestyle? What are some shifts that you're seeing happening, Michael?
There's definitely a shift, I think, unfortunately, in the younger group of not taking this stuff seriously when
Wow.
they're entering the workforce. So I think with the older population, the boomer population had a lot more influence from the Great Depression, from their parents or from their
Mhm.
family, and there was much more of a saving, like kind of like the pack rat mentality, the frugalness that comes with that generation. And I'm sure we all see it
Go
now in
go
our
to
family.
go to the mattress. Go to the mattress.
Go to the mattress, right? And but the good thing was that that generation was more inclined to save, right? Less
Yeah.
inclined to spend, more inclined to save. The newer generation, lives in this technologically enabled society where it's really easy to waste money, right? It's really easy
Mhm.
to get lazy and fall into the trap of, instead of walking somewhere, ordering the Uber, instead of cooking food, ordering, Uber Eats or DoorDash, and like just being very
Wow.
wasteful in the spending, instead of like that other flip where it was save first, spend only kind of what your needs are, we
Mhm.
kind of really live in a much more different reality now for that younger
They
group.
want they want they want everything now.
Instant gratification
Yeah.
and it's instant accessibility, and that's all well and good, but in finance, instant gratification, it's actually you're playing the opposite game. You're playing deferred gratification, right? You really need to understand the value of time, which is really their biggest asset. So the
Oh yeah.
trend is they're moving away from the extra time that they could use to kind of get the money compounding and getting it like really on their side and snowballing in a meaningful way. The earlier that you start, the easier that it will become when you're later in life. That stuff seems to be getting missed a little bit easier because of like the fast paced, accessible, instant gratification
Yes.
life that we live in. Yeah.
Oh yes. But how about like uh, you talk about the times and the instant gratification times that we're living in now, but everyone remembers like COVID. It wasn't too long ago, and when things become different, when the times change, like you know, how do and how should people adapt when it comes to their retirement, their saving, their investing? How should they adapt?
Well, adapt to what? I mean, what do you think particularly?
Well, let's just say, like, for example, I remember, let's just say investments, and I'm going to go back to like '08. You
Okay.
know, everyone was like trusting, like their 401ks up until like when the market crashed. And then there was some distrust, like, where's my money? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those brought about different times for us, right? And so like how should people, I guess, plan, prepare, or how should they approach? Not, I don't want you to give everyone financial advice, but like these are some of the questions that people would ask you, and they say, like, Michael, I believe in what you're saying. I trust in it. But what if another '08 happens, or what if another COVID happens and it hurt my business? How do you tell people like uh, to look at their finances, look at their investments? How do you tell them?
Mike Tyson, what was his famous quote? Do you know you know where I'm going with this?
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah. So we have to adapt because we don't have a plan, right? So
Wow.
that's the if we are feeling the need to adapt, or if we experience those 2008, the flash crash that we saw in COVID, if we
Mhm.
experience that and haven't made any changes,
Wow.
I would start thinking a little bit harder of, do you actually have a plan? Because a true plan actually prevents those things, right? There's
Mm.
things that you can put in place. There's all sorts of types of investment strategies now that exist that can fully principal protect your money while
Yeah.
also allowing you to participate in market upside. When markets are going up, you can participate in the growth in those markets. And if
Yeah.
markets go down, you don't need to necessarily participate in the down. Like, those instruments exist, and there's all sorts of ways that you can protect your money if that's the priority, right? For a lot of people, as you get
Right.
closer to retirement, it's not about accumulating wealth anymore. It's about protecting the wealth that you have. That's now the priority, because one bad year is
That's
very
true.
different than one good year. One great year
That's
doesn't
true.
change your retirement timeline. One bad year knocks it off by 5 to 10 years potentially. And so it's think about Mike Tyson. That's what I would say, right?
So,
What would Mike
I,
Tyson do? No, the, the,
I love
the
I love
planning is everything.
pop music. I love hip hop music, and there's a song called "Mike Tyson Blow to the Face," and that is true. Everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face. Like Michael, you're just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to financial planning and advising.
Thank you.
So, like, what was it that actually brought you into it? I mean, what made you go this way versus saying, "I'm going to go to med school"? I mean, what got you into it, man?
For me, it was the entrepreneurial spirit. It was the entrepreneurial side of this. I've always, you know, just through family, my upbringing, like that was something that I always saw and really was drawn to the entrepreneurial
Hmm.
components. of business and life. And when I got out of college, international business was what I studied in school. Shout out St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Right? You choose your major at such a young age. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
even know what international business meant. Like, I thought I was going to be like traveling the world like a James Bond or something. Like,
Right.
checking in different hotels, doing business deals, like, and it was like, that's not what this is at all. Like, it's really, where do you find your passion? And for me, it was building business, entrepreneurship. It was kind of taking the creative stroke and how you can apply that to the business world to create value, right? To create value. And that's what entrepreneurship's all about.
Mhm.
And financial planning was an interesting, that's the route that I took. I took the independent financial planning track to start. It's not something that I'm really actively operating in now as the CEO of the platform, but that was my origin story. I went down through the licensing process, became a financial planner, but I did it in the independent track, which was building your business like brick by brick. Find your
Yeah.
clients, right? There's no salary, there's no guarantees. You need to go build it yourself. But because you didn't have that institutional windfall and that salary to back you, it gave me a very, very different perspective on how to approach this stuff. And it gave me a very different perspective, particularly by meeting with a lot of clients that already had advisors and being able to shed different light, shed a different perspective and see, wow, actually a lot of the advice that people are being given right now
Yeah.
has major gaps and has major conflicts of interest and just problems that are kind of dangerous for them to navigate the future. And that kind of sparked, right, the next level of this, which was, all right, what if we can create a way where more and more people can actually get access to the independent fiduciary channel? What would that look like? How would that change things for people?
Wow.
And that's where we are now.
You brought up Robin Hood earlier. You kind of sound like the Robin Hood for me.
Well, I mean, it's our goal.
do.
It's our goal is to be that. And the RetireUS is not here to build something and get acquired by a big institution. Our goal is
Right.
to IPO the company and be a new lane, a different lane for the 98%, right? The thing is the professionals in our space, the way that it's built, they move up market. They constantly want to find a professional with more and more assets. In the independent space, this is one of the major problems. If you're managing money, which is a way a lot of these independent fiduciaries ultimately get paid in the product side of it, it takes you the same amount of time to work with someone that has $100,000 that has $1 million. Same amount of time, except you're going to get paid 10 times more to work with a person that has $1 million. Right? So they move up market. They constantly move up market. They're looking for larger and larger and larger households for them to serve because they only have a specific amount of time and bandwidth in order to, they can only see a certain number of clients until they're maxed out as a professional. And so the more and more they can move up market, the more they can make an impact, but also drive, more and more revenue for their business. So our objective is to do the opposite. Our objective is to open up down market streams for more and more independent fiduciaries. And the tech that we're building is ultimately allowing them to scale their ability to see clients, right? So instead of it taking on average 35 hours a year to bring on one new client, that's kind of the statistic for a financial professional, an independent fiduciary financial professional. What if we could reduce that amount of time that they need to spend to essentially just being able to just meet with the client, right? We can reduce that down to 3-4 hours. They can see 10 times as many households, right? And now they don't need to move up market. They can make more of an impact and they can get compensated. They can make more money in the process as well. So that's really, we feel like we are here to be the Robin Hood, if you will, of the financial planning industry.
I said it first.
I love it. I'll take it all day, man. I appreciate it.
Well, it's almost like, the way you describe it, it's almost like you make it like really easy, simple, and like frictionless frictionless for almost anyone, because there are some people who think like I need to be rich to invest my money,
Yeah.
or and there's some people who have discretionary income where they don't know what to do with it. They kind of reach out to you or use the platform to say like, here's what's available to you. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just people just don't know what's
Yeah.
available to them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And traditionally, a lot of these things haven't been readily available. And that's the
Mhm.
shift that we're here to make. So at retire.us, you can go on there. The subscriptions that we offer start at as little as $49 dollars, or sorry, $39 when you pay annually, actually. So almost like $40 a month to work with somebody that is the highest level of designation and trust factor that exists out there to start building you out a plan. You don't need to sign over your life savings. You don't need to move all of your assets. You can just get started getting clarity and kind of finding that peace of mind in your finances without all of the, without all the hurdles and without all the heavy lift.
I love that, and I want to remind our young people out there, one day you will get older, and that body won't work the same way in your 40s and 50s as it did in your 20s. I'm just telling you, because I'm living proof of it, man.
Same.
I would just tell people, just take advantage of it now. Take advantage of it now, and definitely listen. And some of us, we spend more than that on a cup of coffee every day,
Yeah.
so definitely do it, man. Michael, I want, as we kind of get ready to kind of, wrap this up, man, uh, tell people, how to find you and to get more information, because, we've almost done this in almost an hour, but there's a lifetime of information that's inside of that head of yours. So how can they find you and get more information?
So to connect with me personally on LinkedIn, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So Michael A. Scarpati on LinkedIn, and the website retire.us, our socials for RetireUS is really going to be a major platform in the next couple of months. Like, we've been
Mm,
building up a lot of content that we're going to start releasing, multiple posts a day type of a content push on really educating the public. So at retire.us on Instagram, on LinkedIn are really good channels for us as well. And then, of course, the website, retire.us, there's a free mindfulness tier that you can utilize, which has
ooh,
access to resources, give you a quick assessment on your own financial current situation right now, and then gives you access to resources and information from independent fiduciary professionals that are available at no cost on retire.us.
and I'm going to make sure I put some of those inside of the show notes as well. And I'm going to tell you, young, old, doesn't matter. We know how unstable times are. And I think as unstable as times are, the best thing for you to do is get your house in order. So I advise you to definitely reach out to Michael and his team as well. Michael, you are a fantastic guest. Thank you for being on with us today. And thank you for our listeners for giving us their most valuable time.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
this is Going Forward Nation. We want to thank you so much.